from your experience, what are the biggest blockers in the construction industry when it comes to Contech and the development of our industry from a data, digital, and software perspective?
I think the biggest blocker is a bit related to what we were just discussing. I mean, the biggest blocker is that there's not enough money invested in technology in order to make really good technological solutions. So the budget of many, or also of the bigger and both of the smaller and bigger Contech companies is not very large compared to other industries. And their will to invest or to take a risk is not very high, because even though, I mean, construction is 13, 14, 15% of GDP, it's only 1% of that goes into technology, into R&D and technology investments. And that the software that we are using is not specific, but is often adjusting software from other industries to ours. So we need companies to invest in order to get better technology.
That's that vicious cycle, right? We're in an industry that's so large, yet so inefficient that the margins are so small that we can't invest to improve efficiency in order to increase margins, in order to invest, et cetera, et cetera. So I do like the fact in Denmark that we do have organizations like Realdania that can support this R&D investment, rather than it be vulture capitalists or vulture funds, venture capitalists, should I say, investing in technology. Because if we have these organizations, they're unbiased to the development, as long as that it's for the greater good and we can share information.
Definitely, it what's it called? It helps. That also does that Denmark is on some points half a step before many companies. Yeah. But the next step for companies must be this to see technology as a more strategic initiative. And I think we seeing that at least in the major players, the big consultants, the big contractors. They start to think strategic about that. They start working with startups. Also, as part of our projects, they get introduced to startups and technology, but also themselves they start having different programs to do that.
It's the natural evolution of it, though. As you mentioned earlier on, we're at that moment of that digital transformation that started decades ago with BIM, etc. We're now at that moment where I would say almost everybody in the industry has been connected or influenced at some part of their career, whether it's the new students coming out of university, whether it's the kind of older guys and girls in the industry like ourselves or myself perhaps, that have been influenced by it. And when we see it as part of our day-to-day working lives now, so we're not so scared or apprehensive about at least the discussion around the technology and the discussion around using software to benefit our daily working.
I think what is it really has become a top manager's topic, which it wasn't 5 or 10 years ago. So there's at least that interest. I think also the focus on sustainability and the quite ambitious sustainability requirements in Denmark do that people are saying we can't really solve that in the pen and paper way, because we will all become sustainability accountants.
That's
and nobody wants to do that. So we need to figure out how can we automate that, how can we use software to do these things. So I'm optimistic about I still see this as a major roadblock, and I still want it to go faster.
Yeah.
But I see that we are slowly and steadily moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. And again, I use this experience when we talk to our clients internationally about the value of implementing digital processes and deliverables. But I think many countries could learn from the path Denmark have been on over the last 20 years. But one thing that we always come across is kind of the mindset. And I think you touched on it. The mindset of management has often been, we're not investing. Let's continue the way we're working. We've always done it this way. Why would we possibly want to change now? But the narrative, the discussion is now changing somewhat within the Danish environment, anyway, at least.
It definitely is. I mean, we still see both things, and but it becomes clear the necessity to invest is becoming clear to most top managers. And then the next step for them is also to get their middle management, to get their project management on board with these things. Maybe also adjust some of the incentive models in the companies that also prevent innovation.
And I think for any of the senior managers and managers out there listening to this, I'd say for you guys, if you're looking to progress within your organizations or in the industry, start driving this kind of innovative ideas within your organization, because the technology it's already there. The softwares are already available. We're lacking the knowledge base of implementation rather than the technology not being there for a lot of the processes that we do work at every day. I think,
I talked a while ago. I talked to a big Middle Eastern construction company, and they actually made it part of their model that you need to use some kind of startup on your project. So that was part of the incentive scheme for the project managers. And I think that's the things we need to see is. It actually becomes part of what the company expects from you is, and it's very explicit that the company expects this for you. You can still decide in what direction and what you want to do, but you need to have something on your project in order to develop the company, in order to develop the industry, also in order to develop yourself and get experience and open your mindset.
We've raised that point a few times in relation to the public authorities. I know that Denmark, the public authorities have, with the assistance of Contech and other organizations, have implemented, digital strategies on projects as pilot projects and as pioneering projects, as you mentioned. And we've been saying the same thing to government in Ireland. If you want really to influence change, you have to set aside finance in order to make that happen on a public projects. Pick a few, with the realization that they could be late, they could be over budget, but set aside something to allow it to develop, record that development on that project, and then openly share that the learnings, the good, the bad, and the ugly of that transition on that project, so people can learn.
And the bad and the ugly is a big part of it. In order to it not just become a showcase a showcase project where it.
Everything is great.
Where everything is great, and you basically are just doing it because you're paid for it, and not because you really are taking it in.
You could go to the absolute extreme and go to say to government, actually every single project you do above a certain value should have an innovation fund to innovate on that project. Yeah. As an industry, if you're really serious about developing the industry, then you need to lead the way, the same way as you lead the way on policy, lead the way on innovation development as well.
Yeah, and I see the government and the what's it called, municipalities, all the public clients, they could to a much larger degree use their power as a buyer. So they are using it as a regulator and using it as somebody who's building infrastructure, but they're not using it enough as a buyer, where they often act on more traditional terms and often act comparably to the industry, maybe even a little bit on the traditional side compared to what is in industry practice.
Exactly. I think that's a super interesting idea.